So what's the Grape Explorer talking about today? So we're back to one of my favorite areas. It's called Italy, and I broke out the map, the big map here of Italy, but we're gonna focus in on an area and a grape that's really, really interesting today. And so we're talking about Abruzzo, but we're also talking about a grape called Pecorino. And Pecorino is very famous in this area called the Marche region. This is where it came from. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of years ago, this grape, but it got kind of, if you want to say, surplanted by Trebbiano, and we started to see that grape kind of get pushed out a little bit here, but there was some interesting history behind Abruzzo, and I wanted to let you know that I was in Chicago about 3 weeks ago at a wine conference there, which was the Sommelier's Choice Awards. And I was on the panel that we were tasting wines from Abruzzo, which I love Montepulciano, and it's one of my favorite, favorite wines and grapes from Italy. It's probably one of the best values. But what I really tasted there, which was really cool, was this grape, which is called Pecorino. But guess what? There is also a cheese that we have here, which is Pecorino cheese. And there's a little bit of a history between the twist of the wine, Pecorino, and the cheese Pecorino, and it's on the sheep. So I want to zero in. I want to give a little bit of kudos to this producer here. But we also want to talk about, according to local legend, Pecorino gets its name because of the sheep. Pecora is also known to eat the grapes, and that's quite interesting if you think about. That's how these grapes get their name by different types of, if you want to say, historical perspectives and everything like that. Yeah, we're looking at this area where the production is very close to the Adriatic Sea, and you get a lot of that salinity that I always talk about, and you get that sea spray that kind of just gets up into this grapes. But in Abruzzo, which is fascinating because we're talking about the origins of this varietal coming from the Marche region right here, of course the Adriatic here, the Adriatic Sea. But this grape started to take on an interesting history, and in 1997, you started to actually see Abruzzo put on the wine Pecorino, and that was kind of a new phenomenon, because I was importing wines from Abruzzo, and Trebbiano was the white wine, and that was the king of Abruzzo as far as white wine was concerned. So even in the early 1990s, you did not see Pecorino coming from this area. So, but 1997, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here so I can at least explain what actually happened. It says the baptism of Pecorino de Abruzzo took place in 1997 when Luigi Cataldi Madonna inserted the grape varietal name on the label for the first time, with the initial production of about 2,000 bottles from a vineyard covering about 8,000 square meters. This act had a decisive impact on the recognition and the spread of Pecorino. So, a lot of people right now in America especially do not know a lot of the Italian grapes. That's why, I'm here as a grape explorer to not only, showcase different grape varietals. As you know, I don't do Pinot Grigio too much. I don't think that America needs an education on Pinot Grigio at this level. So I kind of I don't want to say I stay away from it. We'll talk about Pinot Grigio at another time. But what I want people to do is like what I do. And, not everybody is like me, so they're not going to be as adventurous. But I'm fascinated when I see a grape varietal like Pecorino, and I taste it, and again, I tasted in Chicago. For the first time, I'm tasting this grape from Abruzzo, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know Abruzzo's even making this. I know it's quite famous in the Marche region, which is where it heralded from. But at the same time, I was like, whoa, they're onto something, because I just thought the salinity and that beautiful expression, it just leaps from the glass. When you smell this wine, you get a lot of that grapefruit, that you get out of Sancerre, and I love Sancerre. But, am I going to say that this is the Sommelier of Italy? No, I'm not going to say that, and I don't want people to race out to the store, buying this because it's, it's like $12, $15 a bottle retail. But at the same time, this is a wine that I think you should pay attention to, especially if you love Italian white wines and you might never have had this before. But we're going to taste the Pecorino because Apparently, this is a perfect marriage, is to taste a Pecorino cheese with a Pecorino grape varietal. Apparently, they go very well together, and guess what? We're going to do that. So we're going to taste a little bit of this, and you get that briny, salty, beautiful character, sheep milk here. Just creates that beautiful saltiness. And we're going to taste a wine that's right on the Adriatic Sea here. As you can see, how close can you get? It's just ripping right up into the Adriatic Sea. And when you taste it, oh my goodness gracious, that beautiful citrus tone comes out into the wine. I have never, because usually Italian hard cheeses like that, it's just, they're special, and you gotta really like that hardened style of cheese. But when you taste this particular grape varietal with this particular Pecorino, the Pecorino wine here and Pecorino cheese, wow, this is a beautiful marriage to have. And again, this is a Grape Explorer. I'm always talking about really, really good discoveries that I discover. I want to share with you, and you should race out and get this wine right now because this is a deal. Cheers.